Ruslan.
As you guys know, I live in California, and we went under another mandatory lockdown because they wanted to keep hospital beds, empty hospital beds, at under a 15% capacity, meaning if they fell below 15% and say the hospitals in your county only had 10% capacity, that was no good. Why? Because if there was an influx of flu people, influx of COVID cases, they were scared that it would overwhelm the hospital system. Now, we've been in the middle of this pandemic for quite a while. The science seems to state that this thing is, deadly for some people. The world death rate is, I think, is about 2 to 3%. But when you factor in people who die with it versus from it, it just gets really murky. And I'm not here to make absolute statements about the science, because I really don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to science. I am strictly speaking about statements when the antidote, which is lockdowns, are starting to seem to cause more damage than the actual vid. I'm just gonna say vid so I don't get demonetized. All right, meaning that there's a lot of people losing their businesses, and the hypocrisy is outlandish. So I wanted to highlight this business owner. You guys may have seen this video. There's local businesses that are going through this kind of stuff. And honestly, I think this is an injustice. I think this is not, it's not helpful. It's not, it's not good. All right. So let's check this video out. Some of you guys may have seen this. Is a business owner out in the LA area.
So this is my place, the Pineapple Hill Grill and Saloon. If you go to my page, you can see all the work I did for outdoor dining, for tables being 7 feet apart. And I come in today because I'm organizing a protest, and I came in to get stuff for that. And I walk into my parking lot, and obviously Mayor Garcetti has approved this. Has approved this being set up for a movie company.
So context, she's in the LA area. A lot of, obviously that area, there's a lot of movies being shot, and she had her entire restaurant outside, and they shut her down being outside and allowed a daggone film crew to be active in her parking lot. And she showed up because she was in the middle of organizing a protest against some of these lockdowns. Just a slap in her face.
I'm losing everything. Everything I own is being taken away from me. And they set up a movie company right next to my outdoor patio, which is right over here.
Look at that. That's her business. Same thing. This is the same thing.
And people wonder why I'm protesting and why I have had enough. They have not given us money, and they have shut us down. We cannot survive. My staff cannot survive. Look at this.
That's her business.
Tell me that this is dangerous, but right next to me as a slap in my face, that's safe. This is safe. 50 feet away.
Yeah, this is terrible, guys.
This is dangerous. Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under. And we need your help. We need somebody to do something about this.
So, guys, this kind of stuff, Proverbs talks about just scales. And having a balanced approach to this. Mayor Garcetti apparently saw this, and his response was, well, I feel bad for her, but the film crews take more protocol. Governor Newsom, who I recently signed a petition to recall, there's a website called Recall Gavin 2020, and if you're in California, I recommend you sign a petition, especially if you have one outside of Walmart. The issue is this. Listen, I'm not one of those folks that's like, yo, the masks are impeding on me. Practice social distancing. Practice masks. Don't leave the house if you don't have to, right? But at the same time, come on. This is getting ridiculous. The one, if the government said, hypothetically, which they didn't, but if they said, hey, small businesses, we need everybody to lock down and we're going to send you whatever amount of money you need. We're giving you, you know, whatever. It cost you 100 grand to run your business for 2 months. We're sending you 100 grand so you can pay all your staff, keep all your overhead going. Cool. Cool. Like that's fine. You could do that, right? You're now stepping up to the plate and you're saying, hey, we don't want all these businesses to go down. Cool. The issue becomes is when one, you just tell people to shut down with these like random expectations to shut down just because, right? So that's one. You don't then put your money where your mouth is. You don't actually do anything to help these small businesses. Now, I could understand the initial two-week shutdown. It's supposed to be a 2-week shutdown. It's supposed to be a 2-week shutdown. I could understand the initial 2-week shutdown. And I'd say, yeah, most business people should have, 2 weeks of expenses, a month of expenses. Cool. That should be reasonable. But at this point, like it's been what, 9 months, fam? It's been 9 months and things are still out of hand. By the way, Florida isn't shut down any longer, though their COVID cases did spike, as well as I think Texas isn't shut down. There's states that aren't shut down, and I don't know how well they're doing, but they seem to be very appealing to a guy like me who lives in California, and I'm looking at Florida, and my friends are going out, and it's relatively normal, right? I'm like, gosh, and then we're so shut down here. So it's an overstep, I think, of their authority in people's lives. You're telling people what they can and can't do with their businesses. You're telling me why I can't and can't go as a Patreon. Like, that's wild to me. Two, you aren't doing anything to compensate these people. And this is a misconception about capitalism, right? People think that business owners are rich. People think that business owners have millions of dollars in the bank. A lot of these people are living middle class, lower middle class existences. They're not balling out of control. She probably isn't doing that well. And she's saying, hey, I'm losing everything. I'm losing everything. She's losing her business. She's probably losing she talks about her people, her workers losing stuff, right? And so here's a time where I'm not one of those all Democrats are bad people. You guys know me. I'm politically agnostic. I'm not on that wave. But goodness gracious, you look at New York, you look at California, and they're kind of bugging with some of this stuff. Like it's a lot of overstep. It's a lot of just being flippant with these arbitrary rules. All along, Governor Newsom of California is out having $1,000 plates, $500 plates in a room with 20 guests, no face masks and no social distancing. Now you're a hypocrite, fam. Now you're just flat out being a hypocrite. And so I believe the petition, we have until March to get it signed. I think he'll get recalled, which recalls means that we just get to vote all over again for him. And I think this is the kind of stuff where you will see, in my opinion, you'll see California starting to flip. You'll see California starting to flip. California, the cost of living is already really high out here. There's a ton of regulation. The only thing that really is good for California in terms of just legally is that we have low property taxes, right? Other places have a higher property tax. We have low property. The state, excuse me, the state tax is 16%, the highest everywhere. And so I just think there's so much drama in the midst of this that we're not really thinking objectively through this. We're not really understanding what the depths of despair are going to look like. If you don't know what deaths of despair are, deaths of despair is when people die, not from the vid, but as a proxy from something related to it, meaning they lose their job, right? They get back on drugs. They stay in a domestic violence situation. They commit suicide. They overdose, right? Those deaths are on their way up. And it's hard because they're not even showing us the real numbers on that kind of stuff. So when you look at it, it's like, goodness gracious. So I show this video, and by the way, there's other businesses. I shared one on my Instagram. Here's where I'm getting at. This is not justice. This is not right. This is not fair. These are not just scales. And when the George Floyd stuff popped off a couple months ago, not to get into the racial thing, but I think there are some things that need to be done in terms of police needing a duty to intervene, right? These different things that need to happen with the 8 Can't Wait. I'm not on no cultural Marxism stuff. Don't go there with me. Look up 8 Can't Wait if you want to know what that I think should be done. Some really tangible solutions that don't have anything to do with overthrowing capitalism and destroying the nuclear family. 8 can't wait, has stuff like duty intervene. And when that stuff happened, guess what? I went out and I protested. We had a worship thing where there was a message and there was worship, and then we marched in Oceanside, and I went and protested with, and I think a lot of us should have and needed to do that, right? Outside of how this thing's been hijacked. And in this same way, let's not let this become this is a white Republican MAGA people being mad and crying out. No. These are small business owners. By the way, 50% of our gross domestic product, our GDP, 50% of ours as a nation is from small businesses. Small businesses, mom and pop shops, restaurants, right? Catering companies, these different types of things. And so I think it's just important for us. Hey, we have to stand with these people. We have to stand with these people. Yes, Romans tells us to follow the authorities and respect the laws of the land. I'm paraphrasing. It doesn't say respect the laws of the land, but submit to the governing authorities. However, when you got goofy laws, you're going to get goofy responses. And at some point, people are going to be like, yo, fam, you out having $500 dinner plates, and you're telling us to not go to our favorite restaurant? What? Right? So salute to all these business owners. There's somebody in Escondido. There's a lot of these folks that are like, yo, I ain't shutting down. And I'm like, I'm with you. And I'm going to support those businesses. And yes, shop local for Christmas. Shop local after Christmas. If you're doing fine, Valuetainment did a really good job on this. If you're doing fine, listen, tip extra. That's what I'm doing. I'm tipping extra. All the folks that are coming through with the Instacart for me, all the folks that are pulling up, tap extra. Tip extra, right? If you go out to a restaurant, tip extra. There's a lot of people hurting right now. And so when there are unjust laws, yes, you will get pushback. You will get pushback, right? So when Romans says, hey, we are to submit to the governing authorities, he who does, does good, lives right, has nothing to worry about. That doesn't mean that if you see a dictatorship rising up that you just look the other way, right? And that was my issue with a lot of the Trump stuff. It's like you saw a man coming unhinged and bugging out, and people just looking the other way. He's speaking reckless on Twitter. We looked the other way. Okay, that was whatever. The ends justify the means, the least of all the evils. We can't do that with this. Right? We can't do that with this. When we see injustice happening, whether it's, in regards to police brutality or whether it's in regards to people losing their businesses because you got a goofy, wonky government that can't figure this thing out, we have to do something. We have to stand up. We have to support these small businesses, support your favorite restaurants. And I think that is how we do that. Like, I think we do that by supporting these people. And yes, if there is a law that doesn't make, like, you're not going to tell me I can't go on a jog, fam. You're not going to, like, you know what? And I'll bite the bullet. Like, I'll eat that. You going to tell me I can't go on a jog? I'll eat that. I'll go on a jog and I'll pay a $500 ticket. You're not going to tell, and by the way, most police officers aren't enforcing this stuff anyway, right? If we're going to keep it a buck, they're not enforcing this. So when this stuff said, when that passage in Romans, it's not to, you just roll over and let them do whatever you want to. No, and I'm not on the like, yo, we have to fight for our Christian liberties. It's not about Christian liberties. It's about liberty. Freedom, just coming and going. I'm going on a jog. I'm taking my son outside to ride his bike. I don't care what Governor Newsom says. It's going. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't do. You know what I mean? Like, no. And again, I'm not out here, a bunch of folks coming in and out of my crib. I'm not on that. That's not the wave I'm on. Not on that. Practice social distancing. Wear your mask. But basic liberty is now being infringed upon, and that's not cool. And whether it's police not intervening when they have wild cops wilding out and departments getting corrupted, like we saw in Compton, right? And I did multiple videos on that, and I spoke out against that, and I went to this protest. And guess what? If I have an opportunity, I'm going to these protests, and I'm going to be out there with these people because these people are us. These are not billion-dollar corporations. This isn't Walmart and Amazon, right? They're going to do fine because most of us are buying our junk from Amazon anyway, right? These are small businesses. So look out for your small businesses. Shop local if you can. Support those folks. Partner with those folks. And yes, in California, they do get wild. They do get, like, our gyms are closed in California. There hasn't been a outbreak from any of the LA fitness gyms that I go to. Not a single one. Not a single one. But they shut down the gyms, right? The churches are closed. But somehow, some strip club was able to finesse some law that they were able to stay open. How does that make sense? Governor Newsom, San Diego, like, how does that make, how does that slide through through whatever legal means, but churches and gyms can't be open. What do you think is more therapeutic to people's mental health right now in San Diego? Me going to the gym and me going to church, or a strip club? What do you think is better for people's mental health and people's well-being? Right? So that's the part that's just ridiculous, man. So I'm examining this stuff from a Christian worldview. Think about it in the same way. And yes, by the way, we're in a democracy. We get to vote. If you're in California, we need to recall Governor Newsom. Like, I'm going to do what I can with my influence because I just think he's all. And then, if you look at the history and the nepotism and him being related to Nancy Pelosi and having multiple scandals when he was the mayor of San, like the dude he just reeks. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, Illuminati guy, but he just reeks of like straight Illuminati vibe. It just reeks of that kind of stuff, man. Like, oh man, like we know you had to have taken a blood oath at some point in your life. I'm joking. Sort of. All right, yo, let me know what y'all think. Am I bugging? I'd love to hear from you.
Ruslan